Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive on something I think a lot of you have probably wondered about. Probiotics for dogs.
It's a popular topic for sure.
Definitely. We're always hearing about how important gut health is for humans, but what about our furry friends?
It's just as crucial for them.
To get to the bottom of it, we checked out this pet health podcast, Positive Vibes.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, they had this great episode with an expert, Sarah, who broke down everything you need to know about probiotics for dogs.
Awesome.
So let's dive in. I think the first question on everyone's mind is, do dogs really need this stuff? Like, are we just falling for clever marketing, or is there real science behind it?
Well, the science is definitely there. You see, a dog's gut is home to trillions of bacteria.
Trillions.
Yeah, it's a whole ecosystem down there. And just like in nature, you want a good balance between the good and bad bacteria.
Okay, so it's kind of like a garden in their belly.
Exactly. You want the good plants to thrive, not the weeds.
I like that analogy. But why does it matter so much? Like, what do those good bacteria actually do?
Well, for starters, they help with digestion. They break down food, absorb nutrients, all that good stuff.
Makes sense.
But it goes way beyond that. The gut microbiome also plays a crucial role in supporting the immune system.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about tummy troubles.
Definitely not. A healthy gut means a stronger immune system, which means a healthier, more resilient pup overall.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is important. But let's say my dog has been having some digestive issues, or maybe they're recovering from an illness and need an extra boost. Would probiotics be the answer?
They could definitely be part of the solution. You know, Sarah from the podcast mentioned a study where specific probiotic strains actually reduce the severity of diarrhea in dogs by up to 50%.
50%? That's huge.
Right. And it's not just about fixing existing problems. Probiotics can also be preventative, helping to keep that gut garden flourishing.
So it's like giving their immune system a little extra armor.
Right.
Okay, this is all making sense, but how do I know if my dog needs this probiotic boost? What are some signs I should be looking out for?
Well, besides the obvious, like, frequent diarrhea or constipation,
Right.
keep an eye out for things like excessive gas, bloating, even skin problems or excessive itching can sometimes be linked back to gut health.
Wow, it's not just about the poop. It sounds like a lot of seemingly unrelated issues could actually stem from the gut.
It's all connected.
Okay, let's say I've noticed a few of these signs in my dog, and I decide to give probiotics a try. But walking into a pet store can be overwhelming. Powders, capsules, those treat-like chews.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. So many choices.
Exactly. So how do you choose the right one?
The best advice Sarah gave was, whatever you choose, make sure your dog will actually eat it.
Right, if it ends up gathering dust on the shelf.
Exactly. You could have the fanciest, most expensive probiotic in the world, but if your dog refuses to touch it, it's not going to do any good.
Practicality over everything. She did mention a specific one, Purina Pro Planfortiflora, but is that the gold standard, or are there other good options?
There are definitely other great options out there. One thing to look for is multiple strains of beneficial bacteria.
Oh, like a variety pack.
Kind of. Different strains do different things, so having a multi-strain probiotic is like providing a broader spectrum of support for your dog's gut.
That makes sense. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's kind of like diversifying your portfolio, but for your dog's gut.
Okay, that's a great analogy. What about the CFU count? I see that on labels, but what does it actually mean?
That's a good question. It stands for colony-forming units. Basically, it's a measure of how many live bacteria are in the product.
So higher CFU count, more good bacteria.
Generally, yes, but it's not always as simple as higher is better.
Oh, why not?
Well, not all bacteria are created equal, right?
Hmm.
Some are better at surviving the harsh conditions of the stomach and making it to the intestines where they can actually do their job.
Ah, so it's not just about quantity. It's about the quality and survivability of those bacteria.
You got it.
This is getting pretty complex. Anything else we should keep in mind when looking at labels?
Oh, definitely make sure it's specifically formulated for dogs. Dogs and humans have different digestive systems.
Right, of course. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered the benefits, the signs your dog might need probiotics, and even how to choose the right one. But what about side effects? Is it safe to give probiotics to dogs?
Yeah, that's something people always worry about. But generally speaking, probiotics are considered pretty safe for dogs.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Remember, we're talking about beneficial bacteria that already exist in their gut naturally. It's just about giving those good guys a little extra support.
Right.
Now, like with any new supplement, it's always a good idea to start slowly and monitor your dog for any unusual reactions.
Of course, better safe than sorry, but you're saying in most cases we shouldn't see any problems.
Exactly. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the gut, but what about the connection between gut health and a dog's behavior? You ever thought about that?
That's a really interesting question. We hear so much about the gut-brain connection in humans. Could the same thing be true for dogs?
It's definitely an area that researchers are looking into, and some of the early findings are pretty fascinating.
Like what?
While some studies suggest that probiotics might be able to help with things like anxiety and stress in dogs.
Really? That's incredible.
I know, right? There's still a lot more research to be done,
Of course.
but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Wow, this deep dive is already full of surprises. So, to sum up what we've learned so far, probiotics can be really beneficial for dogs, but it's important to choose the right type and administer it properly.
Absolutely. And don't forget to talk to your vet. They know your dog best and can give you personalized advice.
Great point. All right, in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore what goes into creating a healthy gut environment for dogs beyond just probiotics.
We'll uncover the surprising role of diet, lifestyle, and even those everyday things that can impact your dog's gut microbiome.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive on probiotics for dogs. So we've been talking about all the amazing things probiotics can do for our furry friends.
Right, those good bacteria are like tiny superheroes working hard to keep their tummies happy.
Exactly. But I'm curious, is it enough to just give them a probiotic supplement, or are there other things we can do to support a healthy gut environment?
That's a great question. It's not just about popping a pill. It's more about creating a balanced and diverse ecosystem in their gut.
Right, we talked about that gut garden analogy.
Exactly. Think about what you do in a garden. You wouldn't want to just nuke everything with pesticides.
Of course not. But what does that have to do with dogs?
Well, think of antibiotics as the pesticides. They're powerful tools for fighting off bad bacteria when our pups get sick.
Right, sometimes antibiotics are totally necessary.
Absolutely. But they can also wipe out those beneficial bacteria in the gut, along with the bad guys.
Ah, so it's like collateral damage in the gut garden.
Exactly. So how do we strike that balance?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes antibiotics are unavoidable, but we also want to protect that good gut flora.
It's a delicate dance. If your dog needs antibiotics, definitely follow your vet's instructions. But you can also talk to them about ways to support gut health during and after treatment.
So, like giving probiotics along with the antibiotics, is that a thing?
That's definitely an option. Probiotics can help replenish those good bacteria that get depleted by the antibiotics.
Okay, makes sense. But what about for dogs who aren't on antibiotics? Are there other everyday things we can do to promote a healthy gut environment?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
a lot of it comes down to what we feed them.
The diet connection. Makes sense. I know what I eat plays a huge role in many gut health.
It's the same for our furry friends. Just like with us humans, those highly processed foods loaded with artificial ingredients.
All right, all that junk.
Exactly. It can disrupt that balance of bacteria in the gut.
So those bargain brand kibbles might not be doing our dogs any favors?
That's right. A high-quality dog food made with whole, natural ingredients is a much better foundation for good gut health.
Okay, so reading the ingredient list is key. What else should we be looking for?
Fiber. Fiber is like food for those good bacteria, helps them thrive.
Fiber. Huh. I know it's good for me, but I never really thought about it being essential for dogs, too.
It is. Lots of dog foods have added fiber these days.
Okay, good to know. So we've got diet covered. What about other things, like their lifestyle? Could that impact gut health as well?
Oh, absolutely. And you know it's a big one? Stress.
Really? Stress can mess with their gut bacteria.
You bet. It's not just us humans who feel it in our guts when we're stressed out. Dogs experience it too. Stress can throw off the balance of their gut microbiome, and that can lead to all sorts of problems.
Oh, I had no idea. So besides giving them lots of belly rubs, how can we help our pups manage stress?
Belly rubs are always a good starting point, but seriously, things like regular exercise.
Walks, playtime, all that good stuff.
Exactly. That's not just good for their physical health, it's also a great stress reliever. And creating a calm environment, predictable routines, that can make a big difference.
So those walks and fetch sessions aren't just good for their bodies, they're boosting their gut health too.
It's all connected. And speaking of connections, remember that question you asked earlier about the gut-brain connection in dogs?
Oh yeah, the idea that gut health could actually be impacting their behavior.
Right. Sarah from the podcast. She didn't go into a ton of detail, but she did mention some really interesting new research happening in this area.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, it seems like scientists are finding more and more evidence that the gut microbiome might actually play a role in things like canine mood, behavior.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying what's happening in my dog's gut could be affecting their brain.
It's still pretty early in terms of the research, but the findings are definitely fascinating. There are even studies suggesting that certain probiotics could potentially help with things like anxiety, stress, even aggression in dogs.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. I always knew gut health was important, but I never realized just how far-reaching the connections could be.
It's amazing, right? We're really just beginning to understand all the intricate ways the gut microbiome influences our health and our dog's health.
It seems like there's a whole universe inside our guts, and we're just starting to explore it.
Exactly. There's so much more to discover.
So to recap what we've learned in this part of our deep dive, creating a healthy gut environment for our dogs involves a lot more than just probiotics.
Right. We need to think about their diet, their lifestyle, even manage their stress levels.
It's a holistic approach. It's about taking care of their overall well-being, not just treating symptoms when they pop up.
Exactly. And as we learn more about this gut-brain connection, who knows what other ways we'll find to support our dog's health and happiness through their gut.
This has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation. Now, in the final part of our deep dive, let's shift gears and get a little more practical.
Sounds good.
We'll explore all the different types of probiotic products out there, what to look for when choosing one, and some tips for making sure your furry friend actually takes it.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll break it all down and help you make informed choices for your canine companion.
Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into probiotics for dogs. We've talked about why gut health is so important and all the amazing things those good bacteria can do.
Right. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
Definitely. But now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How do we actually choose and give probiotics to our dogs?
It's a good question because, let's face it, there are a ton of options out there.
Oh yeah, powders, capsules, chews.
You name it. It can definitely be overwhelming trying to figure out which one is right for your pup.
Totally. I remember when I first started looking into probiotics, I was like, where do I even begin?
Exactly. But Sarah from Positive Vibes, she had some really great advice.
Oh yeah, what was that?
She said, the most important thing is to find a probiotic that your dog will actually eat.
Right, because what's the point if it just sits in the cupboard?
Exactly. I mean, you could have the fanciest, most expensive probiotic in the world, but if your dog refuses to touch it, it's not going to do any good.
Makes total sense.
Yep.
So practicality is key.
Absolutely. Think about your dog's personality.
Yeah.
If you have a picky eater, maybe those tasty chews would be a good option.
Yeah, those seem like a good idea for finicky pups.
But if your dog's not too fussy and will eat pretty much anything, a simple powder that you can sprinkle on their food might be easier.
And probably more cost-effective, too.
Right. You don't want to break the bank trying to keep those good gut bugs happy.
Definitely. Okay, so let's say we've figured out what format our dog will actually eat. Now, what should we be looking for on the label? What are the key things to consider?
Well, one of the first things I always look at is the ingredients list. And specifically, I'm looking for a product that contains multiple strains of beneficial bacteria.
Multiple strains, so not just one type of good bacteria.
Right. Different strains do different things. So a multi-strain probiotic provides a broader spectrum of benefits. It's like having a diverse team of gut guardians working together.
Oh, I like that. So multiple strains are a must-have. What else is important?
Another thing to pay attention to is the CFU count.
CFU count. Okay, remind me what that stands for again.
It stands for colony-forming units. Basically, it's a measure of how many live bacteria are in the product.
Right, right. So higher CFU count means more good bacteria, which is better, right?
In general, yes.
Okay.
But it's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Oh, why is that?
Because not all bacteria are created equal when it comes to surviving the journey to the gut.
What do you mean?
Some strains are tougher than others and can withstand the harsh acidic environment of the stomach. Others, not so much.
Ah, I see. So it's possible to have a product with a super high CFU count, but if those bacteria can't survive the trip to the intestines...
They're not going to do much good, are they?
Nope. So it's not just about quantity, it's about the quality and survivability of those bacteria.
You got it. So when you're looking at labels, look for products that specify the survivability of their strains. Or maybe they use technologies like microencapsulation to protect the bacteria during digestion.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've got multiple strains, a decent CFU count, and we're making sure those bacteria are tough enough to actually reach their destination. Anything else?
One more thing. Make sure it's specifically formulated for dogs.
Because our probiotics won't work for them?
Probably not as effectively. Dogs and humans have different digestive systems, so what works for us might not be the best fit for our furry friends.
Right. Okay, so we've covered how to choose a probiotic. Now let's talk about actually giving it to our dog. Any tips for making the process a little smoother?
Well, if you're using a powder, it's pretty straightforward. You just sprinkle it on their food, and most dogs won't even notice the difference.
Easy peasy. What about capsules? Those seem a little trickier.
You have a couple of options with capsules. You can try opening it up and mixing the contents with their food.
Okay.
Or if your dog is a bit more discerning, you can try hiding the whole capsule in a tasty treat.
Ah, like a little pill pocket.
Exactly. Now, for chews, those are pretty convenient, but just make sure your dog actually chews them thoroughly.
Right, don't want them trying to swallow it whole.
Exactly. Always better to be safe than sorry.
Definitely. Okay, one last question about administration. Is it okay to give probiotics long-term, or should they just be used for specific issues?
That's a great question. And honestly, there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Figures.
It really depends on your dog's individual needs.
So, when in doubt, talk to the vet.
Always a good idea. Your vet can look at your dog's overall health, consider any underlying conditions, and recommend the best approach for probiotic use.
Makes sense. All right, well, I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about probiotics for dogs.
I think so.
We've talked about the science behind it, how to choose the right product, how to give it to your dog.
We even debunked a few myths along the way.
We did. And hopefully everyone listening feels a little more confident about making informed decisions about their dog's gut health.
Absolutely. Because remember, a healthy gut is really the foundation for a healthy dog.
It's true. And just like with us humans, taking care of their gut can make a huge difference in their overall well-being.
Couldn't said it better myself.
So if you've noticed your dog having any digestive issues, or maybe their immune system seems a little out of whack, probiotics might be worth exploring.
They could be a real game changer.
But remember, always chat with your vet first. They're your best resource for personalized advice.
Your vet knows your dog best.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into probiotics for dogs. We hope you enjoyed it and learned a few things along the way.
And remember, a happy gut means a happy pup.
Now go forth and spread that gut health knowledge.